in Buddhism, the Chinese original is 言语道断. So when you translate that into English, it's translated as beyond words. And it's a phrase that is commonly used in the Chan school. Okay, and so what it's trying to say is that the Dharma teachings that the Buddha gave, when we try to understand and realize it, you cannot use words to try to understand what the Buddha is actually saying. But then over the many years, these teachings by the Buddha have been recorded in words. So that seems a little bit contradictory, but let's just read on. Okay, it is neither contradictory nor conflicting. Beyond words refers to the teachings of the ultimate truth. In particular, it refers to those concerning the state of enlightenment because its profundity and wonder can only be experienced through personal experience. As the saying goes, only the drinker knows the taste of the water. The state of enlightenment cannot be described by words. The Chan saying, the Dharma should not be established in words, does not mean abandoning words and language. Instead, it serves as a reminder for people not to be attached to words. Language and words are merely the finger that points to the moon. The finger is an expedient means that shows where the moon is, yet it itself is not the moon. And this is why the Buddha and eminent masters of the past gave their earnest advice in fear that people would have forgotten the moon for the finger. Okay, so here in the text, what does the finger and the moon represent? Does anybody know? What do you think the finger and the moon actually represent?
The finger represent. Sorry, can I answer?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. The finger represent for what we can see in the book, and the moon is the actual practice.
The finger represents. Sorry, can you repeat that again?
The finger represents on what we can see in the books, especially for those people who loves to read but don't even take an action, and the moon is the actual practice.
Oh, the finger represents the teachings in the book, in the sutras, in the canon, and the moon represents the practices. Okay. The finger is is correct, but not the moon.
Okay.
Yeah. What do you think the moon actually represents? When people say, point to the moon, use your finger and point to the moon, what does it mean? You can make a guess. What does the moon actually represent?
Nirvana.
Right. Okay. The moon actually represents nirvana or liberation. The state of mind that we are all aiming for, we are all aspiring for, and the finger represents all the different teachings that the Buddha gave in order to help us get to the state of liberation. All right. Okay. But very often, people mistaken the teachings as the actual liberation. And so people get too attached to the teachings instead of looking at the moon, instead of looking at liberation. They focus their mind on the finger, which is wrong. All right. So when we are looking at the teachings, we have to be aware of the meaning behind the words, not just look at the teachings, but have an awareness or have an exquisite mind about inquisitive mind on why the Buddha is giving such a teaching. What's the Buddha trying to tell us? Okay. And as the saying goes, once put into words, it becomes misleading. And once expressed in speech, it becomes untrue. Although language and words do not lead to the ultimate state, the propagation of Buddha Dharma is still reliant on language and words to ensure that it can be passed on to posterity. For this reason, sutras are considered invaluable Dharma gems. Okay, so what he's saying here is, although we need to go beyond the finger and to look for the moon, but on the other, this finger is very important, having this language, having the words to try to help us and understand the Dharma that leads us to the moon is still very important, because that is how we get to understand the truth. And so what Ram Master is trying to say here, let's move on. Language and words are not only an expedient means for practicing Buddhism, but they are also a form of communication used to convey thoughts and exchange ideas. As the saying goes, one is never too old to learn. At any given moment in life, one depends on language and words in our interpersonal interactions and in our learning and growth. Without language and words, one would be helpless and stuck. Okay, so language and words are very important because it is a tool that help us to communicate. Furthermore, language and words are extremely powerful. As the saying goes, one word can determine the life and death of a person, and a word can cause a country to prosper or fail. When used appropriately, language and words harmonize the interpersonal relationships and prevent arguments. Conversely, improper expressions easily spark misunderstandings, thus hurting others and benefiting no one. Okay, so I think the first point that Verbal Master is trying to make in this text is that the propagation of Buddha Dharma is reliant on language and words. Although we know that we have to get beyond the language, we have to get beyond the words and to try to get to the meaning of the teachings. But nevertheless, the propagation and the spread of Buddhism and the Buddhist teachings is very much reliant on language and words. And that's why we have so many texts in the Buddhist canons. We have so many commentaries. We have so many records of the teachings that's left down behind by our ancestors for us to actually understand the teachings. And so the propagation of Buddhism is very heavily reliant on language and words. Okay, let's move on with the text. Although words are important, sometimes speaking less is more. For example, Buddhists like to say Aumi Tofo on any given occasion, be it greeting, expressing gratitude, a notice of arrival or departure. A simple Aumi Tofo is beyond any number of words. Right, so saying Aumi Tofo is something that is like a practice in Taiwan. I'm not sure about in the Philippines. Do you use Aumi Tofo as well to greet one another?
Yes, we do, Shafu.
Oh, okay.
We use Aumi Tofo at the temple and when we meet other devotees.
Okay, right. So you can use Aumi Tofo for any occasion, right? So when you see somebody, you say omitofo. When I say omitofo. When somebody says something good to you, or you can also say omitofo. So omitofo is very versatile. You can use it anytime. And there is also a type of communication that is both without words and sounds. When language and words fail to convey one's inner thoughts and intentions, then remaining silent and wordless is the best means of communication, for it is above any sound or words. For example, there are silent protests, silent care, wordless of having less can be more profound and powerful than the state of having more. And this is why when the Buddha held up a flower to the assembly, and only Mahakashyapa smiled in response, it was the Buddha's entrustment of the wondrous mind of Nirvana to Mahakashyapa. And likewise, Vimalakirti's thunderous silence echoed across thousands of years. So here, Verbal Master is giving two examples of how silence is a very, very important teaching that is being used in Buddhist texts. And so here there are two examples. So let's look at the first one. Flower sermon. Some of you might have heard this before. So this is an occasion on Vulture Peak. The Buddha gave a wordless sermon to his disciples. Okay, so there was this assembly, and held a flower, and he did not say anything to the assembly. And no one in the audience understands the flower sermon except Mahakasyapa smiles. Mahakasyapa, we know, is the foremost disciple of the Buddha. He's known to be foremost in ascetic practices. And he's also known to be the patriarch of the Chan tradition. And so when the Buddha held up the flower, understand what's going on except for Mahakashyapa. Between the Buddha and Mahakashyapa signifies the direct transmission of wisdom without words, without any use of words. The Buddha was able to transmit the Dharma to his foremost disciple, Mahakashyapa. And then the Buddha said a line, something like this. Okay, he said that I possess the true Dhamma I, the marvelous mind of Nirvana, the true form of the formless, the subtle Dhamma gate that does not rest on words or letters, but is a special transmission outside of the scriptures. These I entrust to Mahakashyapa. Okay, so when the Buddha was saying this, he is saying that I have transmitted something that is not ordinary people is able to understand and fathom what the Buddha is actually trying to say on your conceptual mind to actually try to understand what the Buddha is saying when he did this action of holding up the flower. And in this line, he says that this is a subtle Dhamma gate that does not rest on words or letters, which means that it is not something that you can understand just by reading the sutras or just by reading and just remembering what I say. You have to experience that for yourself in order to understand what the Buddha is trying to convey. So it's very difficult to understand, and only somebody like Mahakashyapa, who has such a great realization within himself that he's able to understand and comprehend what the Buddha is trying to say during that assembly. Okay, so this is one example that Reverend Master gave in the book. And then the other example is on Vimalakirti Sutra. So in chapter 9, the chapter on the Dharma door of non-duality, the Lichavi. Lichavi is the name of the tribe that Vimalakirti belongs to. So Vimalakirti asks those bodhisattvas, good sirs, please explain how the bodhisattva. So do you know who Vimalakirti is? Have you read before the Vimalakirti Sutra? Are you aware?
We're
of
learning it,
who-
Shefu. We're learning it with Venerable Miao Guang.
All right. Okay. So you're learning about the Vimalakirti Sutra. So, so I guess you know that Vimalakirti is referring to this layman who is very well versed in the Dharma, and he's also very, very eloquent. He's so eloquent that the disciples are afraid of him because they are not able to respond to the questions that he posed. And Vimalakirti, in this particular sutra, Vimalakirti is sick, right? He's sick, and then the Buddha asked his disciples to go and visit Vimalakirti. But none of the disciples are willing to visit Vimalakirti, and everybody give a reason why they are not willing to visit Vimalakirti. So one of the examples is like Ananda. Ananda, one day he went out to get medicine for the Buddha. Ananda is the attendant of the Buddha, right? So one day he went out to get medicine for the Buddha, and then Vimalakirti says to Ananda that you should not think that the Buddha is sick. And he tells Ananda that in fact you are the person who's sick. Okay, so conversations like this, and Ananda was not able to respond to Vimalakirti, so he feel very discouraged that he's not able to respond to a layman. You know, Ananda is a monk, right? He's also a very, very well respectable monk who is just beside the Buddha because he's the attendant of the Buddha. And when he was being questioned by Vimalakirti, he was not able to answer Vimalakirti's question, and he feels very embarrassed. Okay, but anyway, in this particular sutra, Vimalakirti asks the bodhisattvas in this chapter, right? So, good sirs, please explain how the bodhisattvas enter the Dhamma door of non-duality. And then the bodhisattvas gave different answers, right? They gave many, many different answers how you should enter the Dhamma door of non-duality. Okay. And then when everybody have given their answers, then Manjushri said to Vimalakirti that we have all given our answers, and now you may elucidate the teaching of the entrance into the principle of non-duality. And thereupon Vimalakirti kept his silence, saying nothing at all. He didn't say anything about how you should enter non-duality. So at this moment, that is the best teaching, right? Because it is not something that you can talk about. It is inexpressible. It's not something that you can actually talk about or describe. And you can think about it. Why do you think it's not something that we can talk about?
Maybe, Sir Fu, because we will end up talking about it in terms of dualities.
Okay, right. Okay. right? So the moment you talk about it, because the moment you talk about it, you already have a concept or you have an idea about non-duality. And the moment you have an idea or a concept about non-duality, is no longer non-duality, right? Because non-duality is, see, now if I'm trying to say something about it, you would have a concept in your mind. So I can't really say anything. Okay, but then, so that's the dilemma. So if I don't say anything, how would you know? Right? But yet again, if I say something, then you have this mental image in mind. You have this concept or idea in mind that, okay, so this is non-duality, and then you stick to it. So for most people, they would just stick to it and they have this idea and they think that this is non-duality. And then it becomes a duality. It becomes a concept that you can only perceive because if it does not fit this particular image, or if it does not fit this particular identity, then this particular thing is not considered to be non-duality. So there's always this, wrong idea about non-duality as soon as you have a concept of it, or as soon as you have a thought or idea about this. Okay, so Manjushri applauded Vimalakirti and says, excellent, excellent. This is indeed the entrance into non-duality of the Bodhisattvas. And here there is no use of syllables, sounds, and ideas. And when these teachings had been declared, 5,000 Bodhisattvas entered the door of the Dharma of non-duality and attained tolerance of the birthlessness of things. Okay, so this was the second example that Brahma Master gave in the book. Right, so these examples demonstrate the supreme and wondrous teachings are ineffable and cannot be spoken. The doors of wisdom and truth will open when one transcends the restraints of language and words and perceives that the lush bamboo is none other than prajna, the luxuriant yellow flowers are but wondrous truths. Okay, so I think we come to the second point. The second main point in this book is that the ultimate truth is not expressible by words, like what we see in the two examples. So Vimalakirti remained silent by not expressing any words or saying anything about non-duality. Okay, so here is where we are going to break up into groups. But before that, let me just go through these 4 different examples that Brahma Master gave in the book. Okay, so often in chant records, chant masters did not seem to play by the rules and were almost illogical in their actions. For example, and so Brahma Master gave 4 examples here. And I'll go through these 4 examples. And then what I like you to do is to break up into 4 groups and discuss what these 4 examples is trying to say. Okay, what these 4 examples is actually trying to say. And why do you think Brahma Master used these 4 examples in this particular topic? All right. So the first one is Master Dan Xia Tianran's burning the Buddha for warmth. Okay, so you see in this picture, there is a master. He's holding a fan and a stake, right? And then do you see a fire pit? there's a fire pit, and then there are wood in the fire, and then among the wood there is a Buddha statue. Okay, so this particular master is Master Tianran, Danxia Tianran, and it was a very, very cold night. So he was very cold. He was so cold that he took out one of the wooden Buddha image, which is what you see in the fire pit, and then he burned it. He put this Buddha statue inside the fire pit and he burned it. And then when he get the warmth from the fire. And then when he was burning this Buddha statue, the temple director saw this, and then he was so shocked, and he said to Master Tianran, and he asked him, how could you do such a thing? How can you burn the Buddha statue? And then Master Tianran replied, he said that I'm collecting relics from the Buddha. Okay, I'm collecting relics from the Buddha. And then the temple director says, that's so stupid. How can you get the relics from a statue? And then Master Tianran replied, since I can't get relics from a statue, can you hand me another statue so I can burn it? It's very cold. Okay, so that's the first story. So this will go to group 1. So later on, you can choose the group that you want to go to. And what I'd like you to do is to discuss what you think is the message behind. Okay, what's the message behind? Okay, so this is for group 1. This is the second story. This is for group 2. This is Chan Master Shi Wu, Chan Master Shi Wu, or English, had a lesson in stealing the mind. Okay, so on the left, you see a thief, right? On the right, this is Master Shi Wu. Okay, so Master Shi Wu had a friend who was a thief. Okay, so this thief is the master's friend. And the thief was so bad, he keeps stealing things from other people. And then one day he stole something from this master. Okay, and then the master caught him and he questioned him, how many times have you stolen? And the thief says, I cannot remember how many times I've stolen, maybe hundreds and thousands of times. And then he asks, how much have you stolen? And then the thief says, not much, maybe $800 to $1,000 each time. And then the master laughed and he says, you're not so much of a thief. He says, if I were you, I could steal what I want without lifting a finger. And if I lift a finger, I will steal a lot more. Okay, so the thief was surprised. It seems that the Chan master is more experienced. He's a more experienced thief. So the thief asked the Chan master, would you teach me how to steal? And then the Chan master says, aren't there already a lot of treasures right here? Okay, aren't there a lot of treasures already right here? And then when Chan Master Shi Wu was saying this, he stretched out his hand as if he was trying to take the thief's heart. And then he says that if I steal the treasures from here, so he was pointing to the thief's heart, steal the treasures from here, I will enjoy them for the rest of my days. Okay, that's for this story. That's for story number 2. Okay, this is the second one. So this is for group 2. Okay, right. And then this is the third story. This story is on chilling out in the dung. Okay, so you can see there's an old master here, there's a young master here, there's a right eyes. Like this, Master Zhao Zhou. Master Zhao Zhou is, I think maybe some of you would have heard of him. Master Zhao Zhou wanted to contest his disciple. His disciple is called Wen Yuan. And he wants to contest his disciple to see who can identify himself with the lowest thing in terms of human values. Okay, so Zhao Zhou started, Master Zhao Zhou, the old man, the old monk, he says, I'm a donkey. All right, and then Wen Yuan says, I'm the donkey's buttocks. Okay, and then Zhao Zhou says, I'm the donkey's dung, or poop. And then Wen Yuan says, I'm a worm in the dung. Okay, and then Zhao Zhou was not able to think of a response to that. It's like a worm in the dung is like the lowest thing. And so Zhao Zhou asked his disciple Wen Yuan, what are you doing there? And Wen Yuan replied saying, I'm having my summer vacation. And Zhao Zhou accepted defeat. Okay, he lost. All right, so this is the third story. You can think about what's the message behind what's this story actually trying to tell us. Okay, and then this is the fourth one. This is Dongshan's go to a hot place to avoid the summer heat. Okay, now is the hottest time in the year, right? In Taiwan, we say 三伏天, like this is the hottest period of the year. I don't know about in Philippines, is it the same? Is it the same hottest period of the year? No. It's really, really hot here. Like, but you can't eat ice cream because it's bad. Anyway, so this story is about, there is a master, he's called Master Dongshan. And one day a monk asked Master Dongshan, when the cold season comes, where can we go to escape it? And the master says, why not go to a place where cold and hot do not reach? Okay, go to a place where there's no cold and it's not cold and it's not hot. And then the monk asked, where is the place where cold and hot do not reach? And the master said, when it's cold, you die of cold. And when it's hot, you die of heat. Okay, so when you are cold, go to the cold place. And when you're hot, go to the hot place. All right, think about it. What is it trying to say? Okay, so we have these 4 examples here. So now I would like you to break up into 4 different groups and to discuss what do you think is the message behind the story and why Verbal Master wanted to put this example in this topic. What's Verbal Master's trying to convey?
Suppose should I assign automatically or just
You can
or
assign automatically, or if they want to pick the group
I
that they
think
want.
that you can choose the group you want to join, right?
Right.
Because I was put separate everyone, but you say that just let them choose which group they like. So,
Sure.
so I think everyone can choose.
But we
The
might end up
topic you want.
cheerful with, more people in one group. How many are we tonight? 18? CC tabla. Four people to a group,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, that sounds good. 4 people to a group.
Why don't we
So
just
maybe-
assign automatically? So
Yeah.
Like if you're one, who's two, like that, and
we
then
just
the
assign
ones that,
to 4 rooms.
yeah. Oh, ikaw na, Erwin, mag-assign for room.
I just sign randomly.
Yeah.
Okay. That.
Nagkan kay Dong, di ba Dong?
Hello, Sheila. Hello, Tony. Hello, Marky.
Hello. Hello, Irving.
So we're, well, what group is this? 3, right? Well, how do we know what group are we?
For group 3.
Yeah.
Ask you, Venerable Yoho is inviting you to join group 3. So we're group 3.
So group 3, what was the story?
It's about chilling out in the dung.
Oh, okay. So what's your idea?
Is this the one where they were having like comebacks at each other, right?
It's like
Yeah. Or
this is
you're
the one
you're this,
where,
you're this, and then you're this, something like that.
yeah, which is the, I don't know, lowest part of life or something like that.
Not sure.
Anyone wants to comment? Tony? What's your idea?
Maybe it's about going off limit of our convention of comparing things. So maybe we tend to embrace the comfort by doing what they are doing now. We are expanding our imagination and try to break out from. It doesn't literally mean we are going to rest in dung like the worms. It's just break our habit of embracing comfort.
Mhm, mhm,
That's what I can think of.
mhm. So break out from our comfort zone.
Yeah, just live, out of convention way, and so that would we start from the language. So that might be the easiest practice going towards that direction.
Okay,
Yeah, that's what I think.
learn to break out of our comfort zone. How about you, Marky?
Hello, everyone. As what I understand is when even if we put into a higher position or in the lowest position, our mind is always thinking that we are doing well compared to others. Like, for example, if we are going to compare who in this room has the very terrible stories in their life, in their personal life, most people will always have something to say that, I have most terrible stories in my life, more terrible than yours. But if you ask the person who here has the most uh, luckiest story or better story in their life, all of the people in the room always has something to say that I am the luckiest person in this room. I am better than you. So whenever a person put in this situation, his mind has always something to say. Either it's bad or good. He has something to say that he is doing better than other people. So that's the reason I think of that is because our topic is non-duality. So if you put a person in a bad situation, it's still the same mind, comparing that he is the most dominant person in terms of having a bad life. And if we use the better situation, the same mind always thinking that I am the dominant in that category. Even if I don't have a lot of money, I have a good family. That's way better than a lot of money. So that same mind always thinks something like that. That I am the better compared to you.
So it's like the master and the novice monk. It's like comparing with each other, something like that.
I'm sorry.
It's like the master and the novice monk are always comparing with each other. That's what you meant. Like people always do that. Whether
What I meant
situation or good
is like
situation.
for the topic of non-duality, even if you put someone in the lowest position, they will always compare that. I think that's how the mind works. That they are even if the situation is good or bad, they are always saying that they are in the top of that situation. Yeah, something like that.
Mhm. Yeah, that's why. So they're always comparing regardless of which position.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
How about you, Sheila?
Maybe it's about not attaching to name calling or something like that, where they're trying to outdo each other, but then it's technically only in words. So nobody can really win when it comes to a
I think there's
contest.
something wrong with your mic. I can't hear you clearly.
Maybe it's my internet. My internet has been on and
Ah,
off.
okay.
Is it still? It's still like
Yeah, you can speak a bit closer to the device. I think we can hear you louder.
maybe it's about using words to have name calling with other people and then attaching those terms and not being affected by the words or the name calling.
Mhm.
And not trying to separate yourself from those words.
So you're relating the comparison of being in a worse situation as people calling us names and being able to overcome and not get angry from those.
It's just like words. So
Mhm.
you can throw as many words as you want, but it's really physically gonna harm you or
Mhm.
I don't know, these kind of things really
Yeah, it's kind of. My impression is similar to Tony's. The way I see it uh, is in a way kind of similar also to what Marky was saying, that the two of them were trying to brag with each other on who can stay in a difficult situation, right? And being able to live with it. And so ultimately, the young monk was able to come up with the with the most difficult situation. I don't know to what's the meaning of that. But when he said that I'm just having a vacation, so it's like saying that he's just having fun even in the most difficult or most ugly or most stinky situation, right? So he learned to live with his situation. So I don't know. That's why I'm not a Chan master also. So we're just guessing. Right? What do you think?
Compare or to be affected by words.
Yeah, I think when the master became silent, it also is similar to what Sheila was saying, like, because it seems like the two of them are bragging already, right? And then ultimately the master just went silent. No need to continue the bragging, right? So I don't know. I was trying to look for the story on the internet, but I cannot find it. Sometimes we can find a topic and then somebody will explain, so we get insights. But I can't seem to find it. What's the name?
I think I heard your story, but I don't remember where it's the story we heard in the past. I don't forgot what topic it was related to.
Maybe I need to put the name of the master. When Yan.
Yeah, it's hard to find a story. I think they changed the title on purpose so no one can cheat.
Yeah, I cannot find it.
Because I also remember that story, but the title is different.
Mhm.
Something like that. Yeah. Also, the first category for the group one,
What was that?
the title is very
Uh,
different.
The first one I'm a bit familiar.
Like burning the Buddha.
Burning the Buddha for warmth. Yeah.
Hmm.
So what's your idea of that, Marky?
Burning the Buddha for one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The master who burned the Buddha is the actual Buddha, burning the fake Buddha. Sometimes people confuse who is a Buddha in that situation. People confuse who is a Buddha. So it's something like I'm burning this fake Buddha, so the real Buddha will not get cold.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's why when the director was angry, he said, "I'm looking for relics." Because if the director is thinking that this is the Buddha, why are you burning the Buddha?
So yeah, they confuse about the real Buddha and the actual Buddha.
Yeah.
So is it they were just looking at that as just a piece of wood?
What? Oh yeah.
Like
That-
an ordinary piece of wood that they would just put inside the fire?
For the monk, right? But for the director, he saw, why are you burning the Buddha? So it's kind of like, Safo, We're discussing the burning Buddha, but our topic is the other one. We finished that already.
That's often if you finish your main topic, right? So what? Okay, so group 3. Okay.
So help us.
Well, they have you is enough. Okay, you're good enough to lead the group. And you have a Chinese guy, so they can help. He can help you guys to understand Chinese. Tony can help. He can read Chinese.
We don't have the Chinese text. So
I'm still searching that story.
You
yeah,
are still searching.
we tried to search it. So
Which one?
the story.
The dung, rest in dung, rest in dung.
Ah,
The
okay.
third one.
你可以找，你就是找那个大便中乘凉，赵州禅师。
So but our idea is like being able to live in whatever situation.
Yes.
Or in Tony's idea is like being able to break out of our comfort zone and be at ease in whatever situation, something like that.
Yes.
But Marky has something else, like it's like both of them are always comparing Sefo. That's why they end up arguing, trying to see who can find the lowest. Because they're always comparing.
Well, because I'm not sure if Yuri Fasu talk about why they start with this competing.
Oh no, she didn't. So they just
I'm not
no,
sure
I mean, she said that they're trying to find the lowest form of, I don't know, human existence or the worst existence you can have.
Oh, yeah. But because okay, there's a devotee and bring a cake, a pastry, but it's only have one. So Zhao Zhou Chanshi and Wen Yuan Chanshi, they were competing. Okay, who win? That's bad, and who win? Who can have the pastry? So how to bet on that? So we have to say something to represent ourselves. Who is the most dirtiest thing? So who can win the game?
Okay, so in a way, what Marquis said is kind of correct. So they're just trying to argue, and who can have the cake.
So it's just like having fun, but I mean like the Chanshi, they
Found some explanation in Chinese. I found some article about this in Chinese after your hint. It says, nowadays we live in tall buildings with sofa, carpets, aircon, some nice things to enjoy. But are we resting? Are our hearts resting? There's so many of our concerns. We have so many concerns. We are calculating on so many things. Are we winning? Are we losing? Even if we are staying in the president's suite, we may not have a nice night of sleep. Some Bodhisattva, they might still feel comfortable when they are sitting inside some fire. What is that? Lotus of fire, and even for a Chan master, he can feel cool in a very dirty place. So these are something we should think about. We won't get peace with more money, and we won't feel restful with too much power. We won't sleep too well with all these things. So we should find peace in any situation.
Yes, yes.
Okay, I think that's a better summary of what we said. So you can report on that.
And also, I think that you also can talk about the non-duality, because
Yeah.
even it's the pure land or the hell, if your mind is the pure land, and it doesn't matter where you go, it's the pure land.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back.
How does this work? All of a sudden, they're gonna take us out.
Hello, Yogi Fasu.
Hello.
Where are you? Okay, do you want to stop the discussion to make them back to the main room? Or
Sure.
stay with them to talk?
They can come back.
They can come back, okay? So I will stop. Okay, how to stop?
But I think they are stopping in 100 seconds. So
Yeah, just let them.
you
Okay,
can just let them close naturally.
okay. I think that's really nice photo behind you. Where did you find the library?
Google images.
Okay. Did you see my background? Have you been here? You know, like,
Oh,
oh,
no, I haven't been there.
it's really, really, really hot in here.
Okay.
Very hot in here, but it's very nice here.
Therefore, your way, you see, it's hot. It's in Portugal. It's 47 degrees centigrade.
47? Are you serious?
Yeah,
47?
Europe. It's
Europe?
47. Yes.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. And
It's
then
crazy.
the fire burning, like so
Oh,
many
no.
fires have
Wow.
it's taking
That's-
place. Even in
that's,
London.
That's
100
that's what
Climate change. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That is
So
really bad.
so we should count our blessings. At least it's hot. It's hot, warm, hot. It's not
Yeah.
hot.
In here, it's only like 31, 32, right?
Yeah.
Also, I'm
But
glad I
it's
didn't
still
assign
in
any.
Portugal. Yeah. and I think in England it's they use the Fahrenheit. It's more than 100. And many places in the US is above 100 right
Oh.
now. Yeah.
Let's ask Yolin Fash.
I think
What
that
is the
Yoli Fasi is
temperature?
not affected because she's in New York.
New York,
It's
yeah.
in the mid. It's
Nicer.
in the kind of like Dallas. Yeah.
Yeah.
St. Louis. Yeah.
Mhm. Las Vegas, I think it's hot too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Even California is already very hot.
Wow.
It's very weird. It's a very strange condition.
Mhm. Oh, so we got lucky. We only have.
Yes,
33.
that's why we're so blessed.
Mhm. And I have
Yeah,
nice
and
cool
we
air.
listen to the group 4 to understand what it means to go to hot places when it's hot.
It's not
Yeah.
hot.
Yeah, it's not hot.
It is not hot. That is our conclusion.
Yes.
Okay, so
Now you
po,
understand.
We should send you to Europe.
No, please.
Okay, is everybody back?
yeah.
Right, okay. So let's hear from you. Can we go
Let's
with group
Group 1.
one
Four
first?
or group one? Okay.
Yeah, can we have the presenter from group 1? What does it
Gershon?
mean?
You wanna present?
Right, yeah, go
Gershon
ahead.
and Aran, please.
Okay, so we are group one representing about the master that's burning a wood or an image. For us, what it means is that as we have understand, the master is consider or yeah. Thank you for sharing. What does it means like? It means for us like it is somehow a non-attachment to any kind of things, and also living in a present moment. And what also we shared about is that this person or the master is also teaching that being less is more, and it's not being attached and being living in a present moment. Do
Right.
you want to add, Sir Odd?
Okay. Thank you for sharing. I think something that you can think about is out of so many items, why did the master choose to use the Buddha statue? Okay, so it's a very cold night and he was freezing probably. And so he wanted to make some fire, right? And so
Okay.
when he wants to make the fire, he would need some wood. So out of so many different items, why did he, I don't know, maybe he didn't choose to pick the Buddha statue because probably the only thing that's available to burn in the form of wood is the Buddha statue. And so he just take the Buddha statue and he threw it into the fire, right? That's my guess. That's my assumption. But why do you think the director was unhappy about it? Why was the temple director unhappy about it?
I think that the Tansha, Master Tansha, has attained a level of awakening that he no longer has that duality. He's not attached to the image of the Buddha and he's also not averted by his action because and the director on the other hand seems to be was perplexed by the action because he was attached to the idea of the Buddha being burned. Attached to the image of the Buddha, that depiction of the Buddha, whereas the master was just looking at it as a piece of wood that could keep him warm and probably survive the night.
Right.
And so again, the director was perplexed. That means aversion. So he still has that duality of attachment. He exhibited the duality of attachment to the image of the Buddha and being perplexed by the action, being his aversion to the actions of the master, whereas the master was just chilling. So when he said that do we have more images, more wood to burn? So to him it's wood probably because he has achieved a very higher or a deeper level of awakening compared to the to the director who's still attached to it.
Right. Okay. Right. Well, my interpretation of this story is that when the director saw the image of the Buddha, he did not actually, he actually regarded the statue as with some kind of a spiritual identity, right? When he was looking at this Buddha statue, Master Tansha was able to see the nature of this statue, it being wood, it being made of wood. The nature of this statue is wood. But for the director, he identified the statue with some form of a spiritual identity. It is something that you prostrate to. It is something that you venerate. And so how can you throw something that you venerate, that you pay respect to, into the fire? How can you destroy something like that? So there was some form of an identity with the image. And so when Master Tan Xia threw the image into the fire, he was actually giving a very important teaching to the director. Throw that image away, throw that identity away, because that identity is hindering you from nearing the truth, from getting you closer to the truth, because you have this identity that you something that you identify with the image that you portray in your mind. It becomes a conceptual image instead of something that is truly what you are within your own mind. It becomes something external. That image of a Buddha nature has become something external through the image. When you associate Buddhahood with this image, it becomes something external. It's not internal anymore. And so when he's throwing you into the fire, my interpretation of that is that throw away that image, throw away that spiritual identity that you have through this statue, and look for this identity within your own self. All right. This is just for your reference. It might not be correct, but I'm just sharing my interpretation of this story. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Master Shi Wu's lesson in stilling the mind. Right. So can we have somebody from group 2 to share what you can derive from this story?
There were 3 of us. I mean, originally 4 of us until Venerable abandoned us. Not kidding. Because we were talking in Bisaya. It was Lara and Jairus. And we think we came to an agreement that knowledge is power. If properly used, one can gain wealth much more than you can steal. Or you can steal without getting caught. But here, the lesson here is, I think Shi Wu was trying to impress upon him that it is best to learn from the masters, even to the point of even trying to steal what they learn, or do extra effort to learn from the master, and then use that power to gain, to liberate yourself from attachments to material things or thoughts. So I'd like to ask Lara if you can share. Are you there, Lara? Or Jairus? Where are you? Lara May? Well, I guess. Well, that's my take. Venerable UV, we were expecting you to share something with us when you disappeared from view.
No, I was just passing by.
Well, because I was just want to sneak in and see everyone's what is talking about. But it's start to talk about Visaya. Okay, fine. But what I heard, that time I was heard from Lara. Yeah, I think her concept is correct. Yeah. Yeah, we just try to find our own treasure in ourselves. And then because a lot of time we forget about what we have, and then we've been looking around. I always do things like that. I forget about, we already have something, and your pastor always have to tell me, well, you just have to go find it, because we are here for 30 years, and we supposed to have everything. And every time I say, well, I couldn't find it, and she always find it for me. So really, I just have to come down and try to find the treasure in myself.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. That's very insightful. So the treasure actually refers to our own Buddha nature, right? And so for the Chan master, he was trying to say that you already have a treasure, you already possess the treasure that you try to steal from others. So in that interpretation, most of us are looking outside. We are always looking for external treasures. We're always looking for things that are external without realizing that we already have these things within our own selves. So it's like a man who is sitting on a box of treasure and begging from other people. Okay, like sitting on a box of treasure. You already have that treasure, but you're sitting on it and you're begging from other people. So that is like an example to tell us that the innermost treasure that we have, the reason why we are not able to realize that for ourselves is because we are not aware. We are not aware of the treasure that lies within us. And so we keep on trying to get happiness outside of our body, right? We try to find happiness that's outside, without trying to invest on our own nature. So I think I don't have to explain this further because I think you already got the point. Right? Okay. Let's move on to the next story on chilling out in Dung. Right? Can we have somebody from group 3?
Hi. I would represent group 3 in this topic. So the group pretty much agreed on that it is about our human behavior. We tend to compare our lives, but in the other direction, which means we tend to compare whose life is better, not whose life is worse. And also we are comfortable. We don't want to step out from our comfort zone. We want to stay wherever comfortable. And we distinguish what we call good and bad situations. So what we learned from this story is that with some help from the internet, that we should be able to find peace regardless of the external environment, because some Bodhisattva managed to do that. And it is not so much about external situation. It is about how we look into ourselves. And it's not about distinguishing good or bad situation. It's about the non-duality that we don't. Yeah, the idea is also about non-duality. So that's pretty much the idea of the group, with members of Sheila, Erwin and Mark, and me, Tony, with some help from Shifu Yohui. That's it.
Okay, right. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I think I agree with you that in the sense that we are always comparing among ourselves on who is better, right? Who has more wealth, who has more reputation, who has a better job, who has a better career, who has a better family, and that brings about a lot of problems. I think in this story, so Zhao Zhou began by saying, I am a donkey, right? And then Wen Yuan says, I am a donkey's butt. And then Zhao Zhou says, I'm a donkey's done. Okay, so the word I am is a kind of self-identity, right? So in our lives, we might say I'm a monastic, or if you're a man in the family, you might say I'm a father, I'm a husband. If you have a job, I'm whatever job that you hold. We have many, many identities in our lives. And very often we identify ourselves with these identities, right? We tend to have this identity of who I am. And these identities are always changing. They're always changing. When you're at work, you have the identity probably of a boss, probably of an employee, probably of somebody that you work, a team member. You have that identity with you. You carry that identity with you from day to day. So we have this identity that we hold every day. And the moment you have this identity, you want to be superior, right? If you want to be like, if you're at a job, you have the identity that I am at a certain position. I want to be better than other people in this position. You start to have competitiveness. And that's how competition comes in, because of identity, because of our identity with the different roles that we play in our lives. So identity is something that actually stops us from seeing reality, in the sense that we do not know that these roles that we play are very, very transient. They are just roles that we play temporarily at work or in our family. So you might be a husband in your family, but at your work, you don't play that role anymore. You play a different role. And we play different roles at every moment of our lives. We play different roles from time to time. And if you carry that identity from your workhouse, your workplace, to your family, to your social gatherings, to your classes, it becomes very heavy because you have these identities with you. And so I think what this story is trying to tell us is, how much do we identify with our roles? And how much are we willing to give up these identities to the certain point that you're able to identify with yourself even as a worm in the dung? How much are you willing to give that up, of that identity, that you don't want to identify yourself anymore? It's like the lowest job that you can ever think of. I don't want to be in that position. But for a Chan master, he doesn't have this problem because he doesn't identify with that. He doesn't put himself in the shoes of whatever lowest position that he's given. He doesn't have that identity. He doesn't identify with that role. He just sees it as a certain cause and condition that was brought in. And he doesn't identify with that. And so I think what this story is trying to tell us is that we can place many different roles in our lives, but you don't have to identify yourself with that role, because our true identity is beyond these roles, is beyond these identities. That's our true identity. And we have to find that for ourselves. Okay, I think we can move on to the next one, the last one. Group 4, which is to go to a hot place to avoid the summer heat. So we're going to bring somebody to Europe where it's 50 degrees Celsius.
When we were discussing the Dongshans go to a hot place to avoid the summer heat, we had a common thought about this, that it is more of how we utilize our state of mind when we are in certain situations or conditions. So if we can utilize our mind so that it does not cause us more pain, like if we are in a hot place, and if, as Auntie Marlene said, if we resist, then it causes us more pain. But if we use our mind and just accept that this is really a hot place, what can I do while the hotness is going on, then we will be able to live in that moment with less pain and even come up with solutions to ease the heat. So with any situations we find ourselves in, it's really not talking about heat. It's more of, which conditions we find ourselves in, we use our mind and not resist whatever is happening, and instead acknowledge and then use the moment and find solutions. That's it,
Okay.
Cheerful. Auntie Marlene, you want to add?
No, you already said everything, Ube. Thank you.
Right, I think Ube has given a very good interpretation. We can now send Ube to Europe, where it's 50 degrees.
I have to apply for a Schengen first.
Right. Yeah. So I think in this story is trying to tell us that if you're in a difficult situation, the practice is to accept the situation as it is and not to resist the situation, and to surrender yourself to that particular situation, and just get a sense or a feeling of how it feels like without trying to resist it. So instead of eating ice cream, when it's very hot, so when it's very hot, the first thing that comes to our mind is, oh, I want to get a cold drink. I want to eat an ice cream. I want to cool down my body. I want to go to a place where there's aircon. Before you do that, you can try that for a very, very brief moment and get a feel of what it's like to be hot and not resist it. And then in that brief moment, you might feel it's not that bad, right? It's not that bad. It's your mind that's resisting it, that's making you feel bad. Okay. Yeah, I think, thank you for all your sharings. Your sharings are wonderful. But let us go to the conclusion that Verbal Master has in this book. So the examples show that going beyond words extinguishes all mental thoughts, and one should learn to perceive the teaching is in one's mind and not in delusion and discrimination. Okay. And so we can come to the third main point of this topic, which is to assess the truth. You need to go beyond concepts, and actually you need to go beyond your conceptual thinking the conceptual thinking that we carry with us every day. And it's a very good practice to just take a few minutes from your everyday life and just look at what thoughts you have in your mind, and just to be aware of the thoughts that you have in your mind. And once you're aware of that, then you're able to see that these are just thoughts. These are just, concepts, or these are just ideas that I have. It might not be reality. It might not be true. It might not be the real truth that I'm perceiving. It's not what it's just an idea. It's just a thought. Okay, so the ultimate truth cannot be spoken, as it is no longer correct once spoken. But if it is not spoken, how can ordinary people perceive it? Similarly, how can one discard the boat before crossing the river? However, once one had crossed the river and arrived on the other shore, there is no need to carry the boat further. Hence, through language and words, though language and words may only be expedient means, it is possible to realize one's intrinsic nature if one uses it wisely while remaining unattached to it. When this happens, why worry about not being able to attain enlightenment? Okay, so I think the important message that we can gather from this topic is that we can use words and look at the words in the teachings, but it's also important to see the meaning behind the words and to go beyond our conceptual thinking and to realize the truth for ourselves. All right. I think we are slightly over time, so that will be my sharing for today. Thank you very much for listening.
Okay, thank you, Yuri Fasu. That was fun. And the group discussion was really, really fun, and I think everyone was laughing. And by the end of the section, I just think about 3 words. Speak good words. Everything we talk, already think about the 3 attitudes. So we speak good words. Okay, so it's already over 3:30, 9:30. So just go ahead and do the thankful merit, please, early. Thank you. Please join home. No sound. Oh, we cannot hear any sound. How about we just read it? May kindness, compassion, joy, and peace prevail over. May we cherish and build affinities to benefit of beings. May chant pure land and precepts inspire equality and patience. May our humility and gratitude give rise to great vows. Thank you, Yuri-Fasu. We will see you again on September. End of September. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Shifu. Good night.
Thank you.